What's happening?
Not much.
I think I forgot to turn the little thing on, so the beginning of the show is just us doing this.
Good job. I leave all the editing to you.
What? Oh, you're trying to say that you would have done better?
No.
No.
I don't even know how to do the things with the StreamYard. I don't do the things.
Or anything with the compoots.
Yeah, no. Just not
what is happening, everybody? It's
Happy freaking New Year.
Is it Sunday? I'm pretty sure it's Sunday.
I think it's Sunday.
Let me tell you, this year, because of the way Christmas and New Year's fell on Fridays, it like screwed it's when you have such a set schedule that's all based around like what days you have to ship or shouldn't ship or when the post office is running. Mm-hmm. Fridays, it makes it so weird. It was like Friday, we were feeling like it was Sunday, and then Saturday, I don't even know what Saturday felt like.
Another Sunday.
And like yesterday morning, in the morning, she's like, it's Saturday. And I'm like, you sure? And she's like, yeah, it's Saturday. And then that night she's like, wait, what's today? Like she had established the correct day in the morning, but lost it by nighttime. Anyway, it's so weird. So now we're finally going to be back on track with like normal times.
Tomorrow will be a real Monday.
Right? Like Friday, like I was feeling like tomorrow's Monday, but then it was Saturday, but then I don't know, but what's happening? Oh man,
it's just crazy. Confusing.
Crazy. I will say though,
also just known as I don't know, Corona year.
Yeah. Somebody was already asking. I see Katy, formerly known as the favorite Canadian of the week. Hey, you finished out 2020
strong.
Real strong. Okay. Mm-hmm. So that's something to be proud of. All right. Anyway, somebody was asking. Sensei Rick, is it slow for you guys too? Yeah, definitely. Mm-hmm. Definitely. We'll be going over our numbers and everything. This is our show we do every week, Sunday Live Haul. We break it up into 3 parts. First part is we look at our real numbers for the last week. So you'll see a breakdown of how we did across our platforms, our gross numbers anyway, with some of our costs. And then we do highlights of things that we sold over the last week that we think are cool or interesting or noteworthy. And then we do our haul, which I basically have no haul today. We are completely dependent on whether or not Vikki has cool stuff to show us, which she does.
Thanks.
Which she does. So thank you for
all
that.
the pressure. But all the pressure.
We were looking at
as everybody tunes out when we start to haul. So
we were looking at our numbers, and both of us actually feel like we had the best year we've ever had overall. So, and a lot of that's thanks to platforms that are not eBay. And so
very true.
And also just the craziness of this year and people having some extra disposable cash at certain points of the year. So it's been kind of a crazy year, but definitely like I feel really good about my overall numbers for the year. But I will say, hands down, the absolute worst fourth quarter I've ever experienced, particularly with eBay.
Same.
My December,
not the worst I've ever experienced. I'm not going to say that, but my fourth quarter this year was much lower than it was last year.
Yeah. My year as a whole was
the rest of my year was good.
Yeah.
And the rest of my year was not a very big increase overall on eBay. What did I say it was? I think it was like $8,000. I did about $8,000 more on eBay this year than last year, but I did an additional 40,000 on other platforms, 50,000 on other platforms. So it's like eBay for me did not see the growth this year that my other platforms saw at all. And my Q4 was very, very mediocre on eBay. Now, again, we're in the middle of a pandemic, so nobody knew what the heck was going to happen.
Who knows?
But I also know a lot of people did very well Q4. I did not see a Q4 increase at all for me. My Q2 and Q3 were better than my Q4.
Yeah.
So
my December is down from the month before and down from last year as far as eBay goes. I'm under 5,000 for the last 31 days on eBay, horrific. Which is very low for me. But again, other platforms, which, we say this a lot and we won't go into a long thing about it right now, but seriously, List Perfectly, like she was saying, she's up like 40,000 from last year. And like almost all of that's because of List Perfectly for you, I think. I'm up like 38% over last year gross, which obviously there's a lot more costs. I definitely spent way more on inventory this year.
Kara's comment is funny.
But eBay, here, this is you computing.
Yes, this is me trying to compute.
Kara says felt more like a fourth nickel than fourth quarter. But yeah, so overall I'm up 30, my 2020 numbers were up 38% over the previous year, a huge jump. So I definitely exceeded my goals. But as far as eBay's concerned,
I exceeded my goals as well.
Yeah, as far as eBay is concerned, like, whoo, real
eBay
rough.
did not carry the wand over the threshold.
Not at all. Not
or
at
the
all.
Finish line, or whatever that analogy was supposed to be.
But for me, about 18% of my growth from last year is specifically because of List Perfectly. For you, it's pretty much all of your growth, because it's all your other platforms. So seriously, if you haven't expanded to other platforms, you need to, because it makes a huge difference. It's definitely worth the cost. And so there is a link down below. You get 30% off your first month of List Perfectly. And seriously, for the Pro plan, which is what we both use, it's what, $70 a month? I mean, seriously, guys, I made an additional $18,000 this year just because of that one program. You were like close to 40,000 because of it. So anyway, but regardless of that, eBay sucks this month for me. The last few months for me.
Yeah, it hasn't been great. I still love eBay. They still are the bulk of my income. Don't get me wrong. I'm never going to leave eBay.
Yeah.
They're still my first love.
But I've made as much this last month.
But you definitely need to diversify. That's all I'm going to say.
I've made almost as much this last month on Etsy as I have on eBay. And that's with eBay having like 700 more listings. So I don't know. Just saying. But anyway, so we'll look at
the Rona, or you just have a runny nose?
Yeah, that's the Rona. Come on. No. We would have to actually go out and do something.
We would have had to see people or leave the house.
Yeah, I don't know about anybody else, but constantly, anytime you feel in any way even slightly under the weather or not good, you automatically are fearing that you might have the Rona, but I think I'm okay. Okay, so that's a long answer to a very small question.
And I know that some sellers like Teresa did very well Q4, way more. This batch did way better this year than she did last year. Again, it always depends on, everybody's different. What you sell.
It depends on what you sell. What the stuff that Teresa sells is she kills it with Facebook Marketplace, whereas you can't sell hardly anything on there. Right.
With super basic stuff. And I don't mean that as a dig. It's super basic stuff that she does very well on because she buys it very cheaply and resells it at an enormous ROI. It may not be all $100 items, but she'll sell 500 of a $15 item. I mean, so it's everybody's business plan and the way that they do business is different, obviously. But for me, eBay kind of dropped the ball this year. And I will say, if it had been down Q4 across all platforms, I would have understood. But being that it was down just on eBay for the last quarter, I don't know. I don't know if it was if it's how they're drawing or not drawing to their platform, or how many people are migrating to other platforms. It's so hard to tell year over year. The only thing that is consistent for me is I sell the same things all the time. So it's not like I suddenly have like this influx of this real hot new item that can't be found anywhere else, and that accounts for my income because I'm constantly selling the same old used shit all the time.
Yeah.
For many, many years now, that's the only way that I can only compare myself to myself.
See, and my inventory has grown in size, and also the value of the items. I have better stuff, and I see that reflected in my numbers across other platforms, but not on eBay, unfortunately. But so basically, bottom line is, if you're depending on only one platform, no matter what platform it is, it's always a good idea to try and use tools like List Perfectly to expand, because you're seriously going to see a huge difference. And if I was relying only on my eBay, I'd be panicking this year. But before we get too much further into the show,
I wanted to answer a question.
Okay, just we'll get back to it in just a second. I want to say before we're too far into it, we're doing a contest this week, guys. And the winner is going to get a $25 gift card to eBay. So maybe you can give somebody else, another eBay seller, a little $25 bump in their sales. But here's what you have to do. Here's all you have to do. One, you need to be a subscriber to this channel. And two, you need to leave a comment, not in the chat, but an actual comment after the show is over, when you can comment on the video. You need to leave a comment, but it needs to be a quality comment. So it needs to either specifically comment on something that we show or share on this show today. It could be an item that we either sold or something that Vikki shows in her haul, but it needs to be a comment that actually comments on the show itself. Or something that maybe you bought or sold over this last week, but it needs to be a quality comment. And we will randomly pick somebody from the comments on this video. And next week we will highlight your comment. We will show it on the show, and you will win a $25 gift card to eBay. That's next week. So just make sure you, after the show's over, come back. Or if you're watching this after the fact, comment down below in the comments on this video But remember, it's got to be a quality comment. It can't just be like here, or I'm the first one, or I want to win. It's got to be something to show that you're actually watching the show. Okay, so whose question did you want to
there
answer?
was a question from I Dream of Vintage.
Okay.
About right there on List Perfectly. Do you manually remove items when they're sold, or do they automatically end listings on other platforms? So by design, your items are not ended automatically on other platforms. There's a reason for that. eBay is not eBay. List Perfectly is an extension. It is a cross-posting platform. Now, if they were to actually end your listings on other platforms automatically, that would be considered a bot of some sort. And they do not use API, which is the permission that is needed to do that on other platforms, because A, not every platform would grant it, and B, it is against the terms of service for certain platforms. So they want you to manually end your items for a reason. So if you happen to have all of your items in your catalog on List Perfectly's platform, you can go in and hit end. You highlight the item and you hit end, and it will pop up and open up your windows for all the other platforms on that item so that you can end them with a couple of clicks. But that is the only way that you're going to be able to do it that way. That's as close to automatic as you're going to get, is you can do it with just a couple of clicks, but it's not going to automatically do that for you. And I don't think that is something that is coming anytime soon. Again, like I said, by design, if they were to add that as a functionality of the platform, it would negate a lot of the other items that they're able to do, and it would make them not as user-friendly or as compatible with other platforms and their terms of service. So I hope that made sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, guys. So like I said, we're going to go into our show now. But again, if you want a chance to win $25 gift card for eBay, make sure you comment on this video down below, not in the comments, not in the chat, but in the comments after the show is over, or if you're watching this after the fact. And please have it be a quality comment that has something to do with our show. And I'll probably do like a live video on Saturday in our boss group. So if you want to see me do the random selection just for transparency, so you see how the person wins, I'll probably do like a live video in the Facebook group, the boss group, which is linked down below. But you don't have to be there in order to win or anything like that. It's just, but you need to be subscribed to this channel and comment. Okay.
I want to just address Kathy's comment about Etsy. Kathy, you don't have to do anything with the community on Etsy. It's Poshmark you're thinking about. Poshmark is following back and sharing your items and other people's items. Etsy is just like eBay. You list it and forget it. You have to do nothing to interact with other sellers and nothing to do with anything of your items on Etsy.
And real quick before we start, Naomi, there's no trial run with List Perfectly, but if you use the code down below, you can get 30% off your first month. And once you do it for a month, you're not required to keep going. That's
the first thing, but there is also a 3-day, you are incorrect. There is a 3-day trial period, but it is not a free trial period. You have to put your information in to purchase your first month. And then at the end of the 3-day trial period, if you've decided it's not for you and it's not going to work for you, you are able to you have to actually request a refund, and they will refund you your initial month's
so it's a 3-day guarantee, basically.
So it's a 3-day guarantee, but it is not free. Now, what I would suggest is if you're not willing to do the first 30 days, pay for a month and get your 30% off the bat. If you wanted to do your initial 3-day trial run, make sure you pick a time when you have time to devote to using the platform. Don't pick the 3 days and then not get to it at all, because that will just negate the whole process for you. But if you actually have the time to set aside several hours to check out the platform, see what it can do for you, do some cross-posting, play around in there, that's what I would suggest that you do to get the most out of your 3-day run. And I'm telling you, you're not going to cancel. But my other thing I wanted to say too is that you can also go onto List Perfectly's website. They have a YouTube channel. You can watch plenty of little tutorials to show you exactly what they do. They've got a great tutorial and setup of different things that you can do with the platform itself. So you can get it's not like a secret science or anything. It's out there publicly. So you can get a very good idea of what the platform is capable of without even spending anything.
Right. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to share the screen so we can look at last week's numbers, starting with mine, of course, as per usual. Okay, so I did better this last week than the week prior, but eBay, you can see Etsy actually outperformed eBay this last week. This last week goes from last Sunday to yesterday, the 2nd. So I had 14 eBay orders. I literally have 5 items to ship out tomorrow for eBay.
Your sales are dismal.
I know. So I have like 5.
Kind of depressing.
And this is like,
and she's listing every day, by the way.
Yeah. I haven't shipped since Thursday, right? Because Friday the post office wasn't open. So I literally have 5 orders on eBay to go out tomorrow. So 14 orders on eBay over the last week, 11 on Etsy, and 0 Instagram, 4 between Grailed and Mercari, for a total of 29 outgoing orders. Jesus. I gotta say, I haven't exactly been super sad about like not having to ship a ton of stuff, but I'm ready for things to ramp back up. So you can see my eBay gross sales, $876.63, and Etsy spanked eBay this week, $1,001.46. And then between Grailed and Mercari, I have $190. So my total gross, I did at least make it over $2,000, $2,068.09.
Greg Dupage Picker is appreciative that you're making
no problem.
Sales feel normal.
Doing a service here. My shipping, $134.46, and then you can see my fees breakdown there, and puts my total cost at $350.50. My cost of goods, of course, down. Actually, I think Vikki actually spent more money on goods this week as far as what her items that sold, which is shocking. So, but she's also made a heck of a lot more than me. So $275 for my cost of goods. That's just the items that I sold this week. I didn't do any sourcing at all. So my net total sales, $1,442.59. I did meet my goal. I'm always trying to hit at least $70 for my gross average sale price. And I did $71.31. My net average sale price, $49.74. So I
feel like you're trying to be relatable. I think that's what it is.
Oh yeah, totally trying to be relatable. How dare you? No, it's been weak, but you know what? Again, like look at those numbers. Now remember, in the past, I've only had eBay as my platform, and because I have these other platforms, I more than doubled what I made on eBay in this last week. So it's actually been like fine. I didn't spend any money. I didn't source at all. So I'm actually okay with this, but I'm ready to bounce back. At least Etsy's been cranking it out this last month. Okay, let's look at your numbers. Bam! Whoa! Let's see. I did 66. You did 20, or I did 29. You did 66 items. Okay. All right. Okay. I see. Go ahead.
Sorry. So I had 42 eBay sales, which is about average 40 to 50. 4 on Etsy. Etsy was real slow for me this week, but the numbers were there.
Oh, yeah.
So four orders was pretty slow. I did 15 sales on Poshmark. All right, I'm going to say it again. I'm finally getting Poshmark. Poshmark, my last 2 months have been over $3,000 in sales on Poshmark.
Beat Etsy.
So I've got 5 between Facebook. I did 2 on Facebook Marketplace, 3 on Mercari for a total of 5 there for 66 total outgoing orders. My eBay sales were good. I like to be over 2,500, so that puts me at a good place.
Good for you.
27.16 and change. Etsy was 620. Poshmark 721. Mercari 117. 85 on Facebook Marketplace. I have not had a ton of sales on Facebook Marketplace. I've only sold 12 items in the last 3 months there, but it's 12 items without any fees associated. They begin to charge fees on the 5th. So that it's still only 5%. I'll continue to list there. I like that they provide the labels. So $42.59 in total gross sales. My shipping was $335 total. My eBay fees, you see the breakdown there, $324, almost like $325. Etsy $53, Poshmark $144, Mercari $17. My total fees $873 and change. My cost of goods $303, which is a little bit low. My cost of goods tends to be around 10% of my gross sales.
Nice.
So it was a good week there. And my net sales just over $3,000, just almost $3,100 for the week.
Nice.
Which makes me very happy.
That's a good ASP for you.
That is a good ASP. Actually, I took a look. My average sale price last year was high 40s. My average sale price this year is over 60.
That's awesome.
For the year. So it's 64.53. I try to keep it over 50, but I've technically it's averaged out to over 60 this year. So $64 and change gross ASP. My net ASP $46 and change.
Nice.
So a good week. I'm happy with it.
Okay, well, Naomi and Inquiring Minds would like to know, Vikki, what's your secret?
I have no life.
What's your secret?
I have no life.
Honestly, here's what I see with hers. I mean, first of all, she's got a really big inventory. So, what are your total items that you have?
I'm just over 3,000 items listed right now because I have sold off a lot of items in Q4. I did not replenish as much as I sold. So,
but quantity is not everything, and the reality is that she also knows her shit, and so she sources stuff that people want. She has stuff that, if you're looking for the particular item that she has, there's usually not a whole lot of the same thing. And so, I mean, it's, to me, like a lot about Vikki's success is that she knows what to source. She has she doesn't have like a specific niche, but I would say the majority of your stuff is usually vintage and it's higher quality, highly sought after types of stuff. So you do clothing and hard goods, but it tends to mostly be vintage.
Yeah, clothing and hard goods, mostly vintage. I will sell anything I can make money on, to be fair. I'm not super picky, but I do not sell current trendy mall brands or home goods.
Yeah.
So that's where you're going to find the most competition. Current trendy mall brands, home goods.
Yes.
That's the stuff that is, yes, that might be the stuff that sells faster sometimes, but you're also battling 900 million other sellers to get to the lowest price or the best price. So,
because you hear a lot about like clothing being saturated, and it is saturated. There's a lot of clothing out there, but I mean, we always joke about how Vikki's killing me in sales, and that's absolutely true. But if you look at like what I sell in my niche, I'm primarily pretty much exclusively selling clothing, one-off used clothing, and yet my sales increased 38% over the last year. My gross is almost $140,000 for 2020. Now I definitely spent up a lot for inventory. I paid a lot more for inventory than Vikki does, but still that's clothing. So it really is about hustling, knowing what to buy and what's worth buying. But also we work a lot. Like we were just talking to some friends earlier today. We work minimum 50 hours a week.
Yeah.
And we're very disciplined when it comes to that. We're both very similar. We have separate businesses, but we both have very similar work ethics and like how we approach our businesses. And a lot of that is just working hard. So, real quick before it slips away, Mr. Biselog giving us a little super chat, a little $10 super chat. And as you can see,
thanks, Brian.
Looks like he would like a little bit of a super chat song. Super chat, super chat. It's super chatty, yow. That's the first super chat song of the year.
It is.
What do you think about that?
It's impressive.
Yeah. Thanks, Brian. Appreciate it. Anyway, I don't know. I guess does that really answer like what your secret is?
No. But I mean, it's I've been doing it a long time. So I look at, there are plenty of people that do it better and that make more money than I do on any platform. I've just been doing it a long time and I'm stubborn. I do stick to selling what I know. I have expanded way more into vintage clothing than I used to. I never sold vintage clothing until about 8 years ago. I always sold vintage, but not clothing. I hated vintage clothing. So everything I know about vintage clothing, I am self-taught and have learned over the last 8 years. There were a couple questions in there and then we'll go into what we're
let's answer this one real quick. Tracy wants to know if we either purposely stay away from certain sizes like size 0 or XL because they usually take longer to sell. I will say for me, for the most part, no, but only because what I sell tends to be more highly sought after vintage, like t-shirts and stuff like that. And even though I will absolutely acknowledge that smaller sizes do generally take longer to sell, I can totally agree with that. Because of what I buy, I might be more willing to spend up a little more if it's like a really cool t-shirt that is an XL as opposed to like an extra small. And if you're buying stuff that's going to be an overly saturated, like really super basic, but it's all super tiny and they're asking for too much money, then it might be a deciding factor.
Yeah, I will say I can't shy away from extra small or small because that is the majority of vintage clothing for women. Let's face it, we're all a bunch of fatties these days compared to the 30s, the 40s, the 50s, the 60s, and the 70s. We are all much bigger as the American race. So if I were to shy away from selling small and extra small clothing, I would have no inventory. So vintage clothing tends to be small, period. When you find something in a larger size that is true vintage, that's going to sell fast because it's harder to find. And vintage clothing is very popular, but finding larger sizes is much harder for people. So,
all right, I'm not going to get into the whole saga here, but I do want to address. So Kara Cooper, our good friend Kara, had a recent issue with her partner's account being hacked and taken over. So real quick to talk about doing two-step verification on you for security on your eBay account. And really, we should be doing this on any account that we have that can potentially access either our financial stuff or switch over our stuff or, you know, in any way hurt us. So with eBay, one of the reasons somebody might hack your account to take it over, maybe they want to switch over your PayPal so that there's no battery in it. Maybe they want to switch over your PayPal so that they can like steal your money. Or what also happens is there are people who will hack accounts because you have a lot of feedback, and it's a really easy way. Once they have your account, they can set up a bunch of bogus sales. Let's say they sell Xboxes or PlayStations or anything of any value. They can sell a bunch of stuff, and because it looks like they have a reputable account, they're more likely to scam a bunch of people.
Grab the money and run.
Basically, yeah, there's a lot of reasons. But anyway, it's a huge pain in the ass if it ever happens to you. And so because of what happened with Kara, I finally turned on my two-step verification. It's really effing annoying. You go to log in, it makes you to get a code on your phone. It texts you a code. CAPTCHA. Well, and it texts you a code and you have to enter in the number. And I hate it. But you know what? I finally was like,
I have it on Amazon, but I still have it on eBay.
It needs to be done. eBay's too big of a money maker for me to in any way ever have to worry about it. So please, guys, make sure you go and do that and take care and protect yourself and your businesses.
No, Katy took the battery. I don't have a battery in my yes button. I do have one in my no button, though.
Yeah, that's actually my no button. That was a present.
It's mine when I'm up here.
I'm hiding it next time.
Nope.
It was a present to me from our friend Dana. So come on. Yeah, DuPont Pick Air. Greg says, when I get mad at slow sales, T Money, aka Teresa, is in my head saying, shut up and list.
It's true.
So yeah. And real quick, the other part of like, what's your secret? I would also say it's that we are very, very well versed in best practices on pretty much most of the platforms that we work on. That we sell through, and it's following those best practices and making sure that you're as open as possible to the most possible sales is important. And I think you've seen that with Poshmark, is your latest venture, as much as you hate it, doing what needs to be done to make it work. And now it's like exceeding your Etsy sales even.
Yeah.
Or it has been very recently. So.
It has been recently for sure. Yeah. Etsy for me. So I did $23,000 on Etsy in 2020. I did just under 15,000 or what I did. I'm sorry. Just about 15,000 on Poshmark.
It's crazy.
My total sales for 2020 was 158,000 and change.
Again, guys, that's gross because as you grow more, the costs go even higher. So in no way are we trying to say like, oh my God, between the two of us, we did gross over $250,000 in sales.
We did 300,000 in sales between the two of us.
Yeah.
That's pretty damn good for two people.
But I can tell you, I know for me, I don't know the numbers now off the top of my head, but I'm guessing minimum I spent $50,000 on inventory in 2020. So minimum. I'm
going to say, even if you take that, and I operate generally around a 60 to 62% profit margin. I do know that, but that's before I take into account paying a lister and overhead costs. So I'm going to say, I would say, even if being generous, we say we're at a 50%, being conservative, saying we're at a 50% profit margin when you take out hard costs.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Well, and when we talk about like a 50 to 60% net, because we do.
I just said hard costs.
I know. And I'm saying real quick, the biggest difference is that we do cash as opposed to accrual in accounting. Mm-hmm. And so when we show our costs of goods and our numbers, we're basically demonstrating to you with accrual method by only showing our cost of goods for stuff that actually sold. But in actuality, we do total amount that we spend on inventory. Anyway, Allison says that she loves the sound of you eating your words. That's kind of rude.
It's true. I still hate Poshmark.
I mean,
but I'm going to sell there. I'll take the
I have
money.
to say, being proven wrong by way of making more money is a pretty awful way to be proven wrong, don't you think?
It's true.
All right. Anyway, so should we go ahead and look at our sales highlights for this last week?
Yes.
As always, guys, at any time, we have our Etsy stores and our eBay stores linked down below. So you can always go and look and see what we've actually sold in the last week. And look at, and you can always.
I mean, we're no Ryan and Allie, Rally Roots.
Oh God,
I hit
no.
$1 million this year in gross revenue.
Yeah.
I'm, I have to say those kids, they hustle their butts off and they've earned every penny. Don't get me wrong, but $1 million in gross revenue is pretty freaking impressive.
I don't even know that it would be possible for us to do that with our business models.
It's not, but they have it from multiple revenue streams.
Right. Exactly.
That's
it's a very different type of work that they do. Okay, so let's go ahead. Starting with you, how many vintage Pendleton wool robes did you sell in the last year?
A lot. I think I only have 3 or 4 left.
Are you robed out yet?
No, they make enough money that I'm not robed out yet.
Okay.
So this is one of the ones that you picked up for me. So $15.
Yeah, or 20.
$15 or $20 I paid for this. So that's more than I would pay in the wild. But
she was
Katy
mad at me.
Picked up a bunch for me, paid $20, and it sold for the price you see there, the sale price of $159.96.
Well, you were mostly irritated because I got like a bunch that didn't have the belts, and this one does have a belt. But even the ones that you have picked up that I got for you without the belts, those have been selling for at least like $80 a piece, right?
75 or 80, yeah.
Yeah. So seriously, guys.
I wouldn't normally spend $20 to sell something for 80 though.
But with these,
you do that. I do not.
I totally get it. However, I'm just saying for the benefit of people watching us, Pendleton robes always sell and they don't sit around for a whole long time, right?
No, they don't. They don't sit around for a while. Yeah, so, I've sold several since the fall. So like at least 15 since the fall. I have 3 or 4 left.
Yeah. All right. The first one up for me is this awesome Abercrombie and Fitch sweatshirt. Now, Abercrombie and Fitch has been around for quite a while, and they weren't always like the type of store that they are now, where everything's just like super trendy. But they used to be more of like an outdoorsy kind of clothes and stuff like that, outfitters kind of thing. And I got this awesome sweatshirt at Torgum a couple months ago, and it's worn and faded, but it's super cool. It's from 1984. I love it. I love the style of it. And I did not sell it for the amount you see there. I think I sent out offers and sold this one for $80, but I paid $10 for it. So paid $10, sold it for $80. And that's why, a lot of my pricing, I price super high, but I do best offer. And when you're sending out offers, it's so nice to be able to send out like huge discounts. Because a lot of times stuff will sell for full price, as I'll show you in some of my other solds. But I don't know about you guys, but when I get offers from other sellers and it's literally like 5% off of whatever their price is, it's really annoying. And I don't pay attention. And I get annoyed that I'm getting notifications.
Sending offers and it's $5 off of your item is not worth it. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. Personally, I think if you're going to use the whole offers to buyers, make it something that they're going to be happy that you interrupted them because, they get a notification. And make them want to spend it. And maybe if they got a little extra change in their pocket, like they got their stimulus, they might be like, oh, I think I am going to buy that thing I've been watching for a while now. All right. Next up for you.
I sold this jacket once. It came back.
It happens.
And this is the second time selling it. It sold for $165 on best offer. I believe this is one that I picked up in Torgum.
Okay.
So I paid maybe $20 maximum for it. It sold for $165. It's vintage Ralph Lauren. It's a great suede jacket. I will say it's dirty. The suede is dirty. I do mention that in several places. It is dirty. It does need a good cleaning. This is not something I would pay to have cleaned because having suede professionally dry cleaned costs a fortune. But if this were not dirty, I wouldn't have sold it for less than $400.
Yeah.
It's just a great jacket. It's like that whole trucker jacket look, but it's suede and it's heavy and thick. It's a great jacket. So I'm hoping that the person that purchased it, either they don't care that it's dirty or they're going to pay to have it dry cleaned, and then it will be a beautiful jacket.
Very nice. Very nice. All right. Next up, I have this awesome Looney Tunes skiing t-shirt. I think I showed this last week. I got this from Yesterday's Fits from Jesse.
You did, because somebody had to tell you what that bear was.
So he's a dog. He's Sam the sheepdog.
Oh, why does he look like a bear?
He kind of looks like a bear. But anyway, I showed this last week, and I listed this, and it literally sold within an hour for the full price, $97.99. So again, I priced things up. Now this, I think I paid like $35, $40 for it because it was something he just gotten in. So I think I paid like $35 for it. And I sold it immediately for $97.99 because you know how I feel about ski stuff. It's pretty awesome.
That's a cute one.
Yeah, it's a really cute shirt, long sleeve, but I always like to pick up ski stuff. And when it's ski stuff and Looney Tunes, I mean, come on, guys. Come on. All right. Next one for you.
So this is another lesson here. So this one came from the big estate hoard clear out that I just did. And I paid, like I said, I think 25 cents an item because I have thousands of items from that estate. So this cost me next to nothing individually, other than the time. And I had this is where I made a mistake. So can you show the tag? So I knew what this was. I knew this was a vintage, what it was. I knew when it was from, blah, blah, blah. I anticipated I was going to sell it for about $150 or so. And that was what I originally priced it at. It sold about 30 seconds after I priced it for $140. That's what it sold for, $140. And I actually went and canceled that sale. Yep, the horror. So here's some real talk for you guys. It sold so quickly. I did not comp it. And I say this all the time. I don't generally comp my stuff because vintage is not really compable. I price it at what I think it's worth and I let it go and it sells for that. Now, that being said, vintage sport coats in general don't sell very quickly and they don't sell very well because of the subject matter. I knew that I could get about 100, 150 for it. And that was where I'd priced it right in the middle, assuming it would go on sale at some point. And again, and sport coats are very specific to sizes. So you got to find the right buyer. As soon as it sold that quickly, I actually went and did a comp check and I'm an asshole because I realized that this particular brand sells very high. And I did not know that. So I ate the defect. I'm not selling something for $130 or $140 that I can get $300 or $400 for. I'll eat a mistake for $20. I'll eat a mistake for $30. I'm not eating a $200 mistake. Yeah. I'll take the defect.
Well, that's the thing, guys. She's saying the defect. So if you don't know, you do get a defect for canceling a sale.
I sent my buyer a message. I lied through my teeth. I said I meant to put this into auction at that starting price and not listed at that price. I do apologize, but I'm canceling your sale. Yeah. And I did. And then I relisted it at this higher price, knowing that the highest priced ones sell for around $400. But this was kind of boring as far as it being beige. So I priced it at $329.95. Another buyer bought it full price 5 minutes after I relisted it.
But what I was trying to say real quick is just for full, so you guys understand that anytime you cancel a sale because you lost something or whatever, unless the buyer asks for it or there's a problem with the address, you are getting a defect. But if you've never done it or you haven't done it in like a year and there's something comes up like this where it wasn't, Vikki would rather get the defect than lose out on a few $100, and that's okay.
So I only do my metrics roll on a 90-day basis because of the number of sales that I have. It's not yearly. For a lot of people, it's yearly, and I understand that would be a bigger problem. For me, it's 90 days. And I'm not a top-rated plus seller anyway because I don't do free returns. I'm top-rated, but I'm not top-rated plus. So it's irrelevant for me if I actually lose it, to be honest with you. I don't have any gain by having it. So I do have one other defect. So that puts me at 2 defects in the last 90 days. And that puts me real close to what the maximum is for me. But for that price, I'm sorry. Sometimes it makes sense to do it. If you make a mistake or if you do a mistake on your shipping, if it's a $5, $10, $20 mistake, I totally get it. Suck it up. Yeah. But in this case for me, this was worth the defect.
Don't do it on auctions because you didn't get what you hoped you were going to get, because that's you decided to take that risk. But everyone should always be paying attention to what their numbers are on eBay, so you know where you're at with like late shipments and things like that.
So for me, like I said, people talk about, how do I say it all the time. It's perceived value. Someone said it in the chat. And I also love that I can price my vintage stuff whatever I think it's worth. And I very rarely am going to check comps because you're not going to find them for the most part. In this case, that was my bad. And I'll own that mistake and I'll tell you I'm taking a defect for it. But it sold again 5 minutes later, after I relisted it for the full price. I thought it was going to be the same buyer that actually paid up the second time, but it was not.
Okay, so Jen asked, where does Torgrim get their stuff from? I don't entirely know where all they get it. I've heard them talk about it multiple times, and they talk about their stuff is on consignment. I don't really know how that works, but they bring in by the baleful just truckloads and truckloads and truckloads of stuff. I know a lot of it comes from the East Coast, because when I go there, I find a lot of East Coast like T-shirts. So I imagine, just think about all the stuff that goes through thrift stores, all the stuff that gets donated places, like how they have those donation boxes in like grocery store parking lots sometimes.
Those are sent out of country usually.
Right. But what I was going to say, did you know that a lot of times those have nothing to do with charities? They're literally just a place for you people to like give you your stuff for free. So there's so many ways for different people and businesses and companies to basically acquire loads and loads and loads of used clothing. And yeah, still a lot of it ends up in landfills.
Yeah. So somebody asked, what happens if you have too many defects? eBay can downgrade your account. So you can go from top rated to above standard to below standard, I think it is. Standard, then below standard. You've got to do pretty bad to be below standard.
Yeah, it would take
standard.
a lot.
It takes a lot. They're pretty forgiving. But, if you look at your dashboard, you should be able to check your metrics in that manner. I've never been below top rated since they instituted top rated, whatever, how many moons ago that was. But it wouldn't be a big deal if I did end up being downgraded.
Yeah. Naomi, real quick, I think you're asking, you're saying you don't want to take free returns. If that's what you're asking,
she said,
what?
How do you not take free returns? Because I said I don't do free returns. It means that I don't pay for return ship. I don't do free shipping. And I make a buy, and I have my policy is the buyers pay for returns as well, unless it's an item not as described, which most of the time they lie about to get that free.
I don't know. I do free shipping or free returns. It's just up to you.
It depends on what you sell. It really depends on what you sell. It's not just about what's up to you, whether you want to do it. It depends on what you sell.
Yeah.
If you're selling heavy machinery, God, no, you are not doing free returns. If you're selling heavy breakable items, you should also not be doing free returns. Lightweight clothing and shoes, sure, for the most part, free returns and free
I sell
shipping.
men don't return stuff as often, so
for
me it's worth it to have that bump in the search algorithm that you do get from having free returns. But there's a whole bunch of things that go into your placement in the search.
So Swoop asked a question there too. If you keep going. What about if you just cancel listing because it's sold on another platform? Does that go against you? No, not at all. Unless your item happens to be an auction and there's a bid on it, or if you cancel it after a buyer's already purchased it, then it goes against you. Absolutely. But if you just have something listed and you end your listing,
you can end your listings anytime you want.
And on any platform, you can end your listings anytime you want, and that's never counted against you.
All right, so let's keep going. Let me make this big again. All right, next up is this Van Halen. Next is this Van Halen t-shirt. This is another, I sold a couple of things from my bulk buy I did from Barry, aka Afro Vintage on Instagram, our buddy Barry. I don't know if he's in the chat. I haven't seen him pop up yet.
Seen him today.
I've been looking.
He's been doing his own stuff every damn day.
I know, but he always pops
every
into our
time
chat.
I look at my phone, it's Barry's live.
These Instagram kids, Megan's in the chat too. They're always going live, I swear, every 5 seconds. But anyway, I had bought 36 t-shirts from him for $2,000. I have now, with the 2 that I sold this week, I've now sold 11 of those 36 t-shirts for $2,235. So I would say once you take like fees into account, I'm pretty much broken even at this point with 11 t-shirts. So I still have 25 left to sell. I'm sure I sold the ones that would sell the fastest already, but 11 of them basically covered the $2,000 costs. I'm at my break-even point now, and I have 25 more to sell. So I'm just going to keep making money off of this lot. So I actually took, I sent out an offer to buyers on this one. This is it's from 1978, but it's a real small one. It's like you can see I put worn and faded, destroyed, thrashed, slim vintage fit. It's real small. If you look at it's like 24 inches in length. It's real short. And the tags are large.
That would be like a belly shirt.
A belly shirt. I mean, it measures like a medium.
For me, I'm not a super tall person, but I have boobs. That would be a belly shirt. That would be a not flattering belly shirt.
This would be probably really cute, either on a guy with a very small frame. or a girl. But anyway, I sent out offers for $125 for this, and I sold this for $125. So my average cost per item was about $55 for these t-shirts. So I paid $55 and sold it for $125.
Oh yeah, Kelly said definitely a belly shirt of me. If you don't know, Kelly is like 5'22". I mean, she's one of the tallest women I know. Kelly's
That's a weird measurement right there.
I don't know how you're for 6 feet, aren't you, Kelly?
You said 5'22". That's weird, man.
But anyway, Kelly's super tall.
All right. So next one. There you go.
So this was an item that I sold on Etsy. I'm pretty sure I showed this in a haul at some point. It wasn't listed very long, but I did pick this up at a garage sale for $5.
$5 hairs.
$5 hairs. I have lots of doll hairs.
Ew, gross. They were in my mouth last week. Disgusting. Disgusting. We paid $5 for it. And again, guys, Banana Republic, I know a lot of you youngins might just think of this as like a mall brand when you go to the mall. But
older Banana Republic, the older tags from the 80s, the safari wear, which is how it started, the whole safari jackets, vests.
They're really cool and they sell well.
They sell very, very well.
Yeah. 5'12". I believe that translates into 6 feet. Yeah, just saying.
She's tall.
All right, so let's go over and look at Flipper Tools is the best way to see what something's sold for on Etsy. And
it was made in China, actually, Kathy. It was probably right about the time they started switching to China. It was not made in the USA.
Yep. Go ahead.
Sold for $129.95 plus it shipped to South Korea, so the customer paid international shipping, and I made another $10 on the shipping.
Ridiculous. Very cool though. I definitely pick up. I like when I find like the cool old graphic tees from Banana Republic. I've got a couple of them. I've sold a couple of them.
That label is a good Banana Republic label. Keep an eye out on that. And then there's another one that says Safari something on it.
Yeah.
Both of those are good labels.
Yeah. You need to go take care of that.
I'll be right back.
Next up for me is this Iron Mike Ditka, the coach of the Bears sweatshirt. I think I got this when we originally went to Yesterday's Fits when they were moving locations, and we bought a whole bunch of stuff for $10 a piece. So I got this sweatshirt. I mean, it's been about a little over a year now. Bought it for $10. It's just a really cool sweatshirt. And somebody, I had it listed for like, I think it was like $150 or $140 with 10% off. So I think it came out to about $125. And somebody messaged me and they were like, hey, would you be willing to take a little bit less for this? And because, you don't do best offers on Etsy, but generally, because I have my stuff priced higher there overall, and I don't have best offer on Etsy, I'm usually happy to like offer them a discount. And so I've had this for a while and I was like, well, I'd be willing to sell it for $100. And they were like, yeah, that sounds awesome. So I went in and changed the price and they bought it. So I paid $10 for it and I sold it for $100. But I think it's a really cool sweatshirt, especially if you were a fan of Ditka from the Bears. The Bears. Anyway, but yeah, I actually had in one day, and I have another thing I sold on Etsy from an offer. In one day, I had 2 different people do that, and both of them took me up on my offer. So it was nice. This is a cool jacket.
This was a cool jacket. So this was one of my jackets purchased from the Clothing Vault Buyout, the List Perfectly vintage store. And it's an old champion jacket.
Yeah, look at this tag. So this is, okay, guys, if those of you want to learn about tags.
Running Man Champion.
It's an old champion tag.
1950s. And it had a couple of flaws. Again, the red tape to show, which is not, well, I mean, it's a white jacket, so it had some rubs and some staining on it.
Yeah.
But it was real faint. Real faint. I mean, it looks definitely more from far away. You can see, you can't really see it at all. And it just, anyway, it's a really, really cool jacket. So this one also went to South Korea, different buyer, which was weird. I had 2 buyers from South Korea this week.
All right, let's see what it sold for. And for those of you who want to learn about tags, anytime I'm listing something, like I had a couple of sweatshirts that had similar champion tags. What I always do with these brands is if you just seriously do a Google search and it's just
history of champion
label history and look at images, you will usually very quickly be able to find images that have like all the different tags and it tells you like what decade they're from. So it's pretty simple to like actually research this stuff. All right, let's see what it sold for. Same price. What?
Also sold for $129.95 plus made an extra $10 on the shipping.
Absolutely. Tom in Seattle. Yeah, Champion's one of those brands that like it ebbs and flows. And right now, Champion is popular. It's probably more popular a couple of years ago.
It's kind of like the Tommy Hilfiger of right now, I guess.
Yeah, well, it was a little bit more. I think it's not at its height anymore, but it's still pretty popular. I know my nephew, he's 15, almost 16, and he loves Champion. That was actually, I got him a Champion hoodie for his Christmas present. So, and he's very happy with that. All right. Next up for me, look, guys, I don't just sell t-shirts.
I love this sweater. You finally sold it.
So this, if I remember correctly, I got this in another really awesome vintage 50s sweater, at an estate sale with Vikki, because I remember grabbing these, and I think she thought I was going to hand them over to her, and I was like, "Get on my face, woman!"
Because the estate sale rule is generally you hand over.
That's not the rule. The estate sale thing is that I usually drive her there and I help her scout, but I'm not going to just give her anything that I find. She likes to think that that's the rule in her head, but it's not true. Anyway, so there was this and another really, really cool like 50s sweater that I picked up, and I don't remember exactly what I paid, but I know I didn't pay more than $10 a piece. And this is just a really cool, really, really cool old zip up cardigan. Oh, what's happening there? This is just a really cool zip up cardigan made from lamb's wool and on acrylic from Waldorf Sportswear. So let's see what I sold it for. This was, it was on a 10% off sale. And so it sold for $134.99. So I paid maximum $10 for it and sold it for $135.
I didn't think you paid 10 for it. It was
probably not. It could have been $5.
Probably 5.
Yeah, most likely. But I would have paid 10 for it. So I'll say that. But yeah, so definitely a big flip. I love this kind of stuff. This kind of rockabilly style of the sweaters. I think they're pretty cool. So anytime you see like a cool old school, like rockabilly is still pretty big, isn't it?
Yeah.
There's still like a really strong group of people that buy this kind of stuff. So
for sure.
All right. Next up.
This was one that you picked up for me your last trip.
You're
to
welcome.
Torgum. So I think this was $25.
No,
maybe?
I paid like $30 for.
Okay. So paid $30 for this. It's just a vintage Woolrich hunting jacket, super heavy, thick, flannel lined, all that good stuff.
Let's see what it sold for. What?
$169.95.
Yeah, I bought it and I was like, I hope she doesn't kill me for spending this much money on one jacket, because she likes to buy things. She's not.
I'm a cheapo.
She's not as bad as
Allison.
Allison doesn't want to spend more than $1.
I knew you were going to say that, Allison.
Let's just say Allison's more successful at finding things for 25 cents than
someone. Yeah, I don't necessarily think that she's cheap. It's that why would she spend up when she can pay?
There's so much good stuff.
There's so much out there, and she can pay $1 or $2 for every item.
It's true.
I mean, I'm totally jealous of her sourcing area, but I do not want to live in Alaska, so I'm not that jealous.
Anyway, Woolrich is a great brand. So
vintage Woolrich is always a good bet.
All right. Next up for me is this Amadeus t-shirt. This is the one that the person
Amadeus.
Yes. Sell it. You can't fade out at the end. You can't fade out. So this is an awesome.
Me, Amadeus.
Indeed. Now shut your mouth. Go look at your phone. Okay. And she is, guys. She's looking at her phone right now, just so you know. Yep. So this t-shirt is from the awesome Mozart biopic movie from 1984 that did win Best Picture. If you haven't seen this movie before, you absolutely should. I'm not a huge fan. I have a hard time sometimes getting into like period piece shows or movies. I have to be in the right mood, but this is such a good movie if you haven't seen it. But this I got from along with a whole bunch of other movie t-shirts from a guy. And so I bought this in the lot, and it was about $20 for me. The person reached out to me and wanted to buy it for $150. I knew I had sent out like offers on eBay for like $100 for the shirt. So they bought it for $150. And then they asked me if I would send it priority because it's a late Christmas present. And I was like, you know what? I sold it for way more than I would have taken money for. So I actually am upgrading it to priority, and I'm not even going to charge them extra for it. They could have paid for it when they checked out, but it's a pain in the ass to try and get more money afterwards. So whatever. $150, paid 20 for it. Super, super cool. Vintage 80s. There's that 80s anvil tag.
With the actual anvil outline on the tag.
Yes, indeed. Indeed.
Barry is here. He said he was driving before.
See, I told you.
I do appreciate you not responding while you're driving. Thank you for being safe behind the wheel.
There you go, Barry. Yeah, this week, Barry, I just broke even on that $2,000 band tee purchase from you. So I thought you'd be cool.
Allison, someday we will visit you. I promise you
Absolutely.
that.
Vikki will not eat any salmon, and she will not go snowshoeing or...
Oh, I might go snowshoeing.
Oh, okay. But you won't do any skiing.
I would fall and hurt myself. But snowshoeing, I would be closer to the ground and not going downhill.
Okay. Okay. Anyway, all right. So yes, Dupage Piquer, Barry, his Instagram is Afro Vintage, and he's always going live, and he's always got lots of really great deals, and he's usually pricing to sell, especially when it's not like crazy.
When it's not crazy heat.
When it's not crazy heat, because that's the thing about the vintage t-shirt thing, is that there's the crazy heat and then there's your bread and butter. And I'm all about the bread and butter along with the crazy heat, but he's more about the crazy heat. So usually you can get some crazy good deals off of him for the bread and butter stuff. But yeah, he's Afro Vintage. All right, next one for you. This is not a twofer, not a threefer, but a fourfer.
A 4-piece bundle on the old Poshmark.
Mm-hmm.
So here's the thing.
Sorry, S-Mac.
That other
now everybody knows what you got.
Here's the thing that other platforms do not offer. I like the bundling aspect on Poshmark.
Yeah.
What I will say is that I am willing to take less collectively on a specific item if someone is spending a lot of money overall. That's where the whole bundling things comes into play. Would I have taken $20 for that Hawaiian shirt? No. Would I have taken $50 for the other Hawaiian shirt? No, not individually. But individually, I look at what I paid for these items.
Mm-hmm.
I paid about $4 for the Hawaiian shirt. I paid $7 for the blanket. I paid under $10 for the other Hawaiian shirt. And I paid about $6 or $7 for that dress. Altogether, $25 into $180 is fine.
Yeah.
Now, the only thing I'm going to have to do is I am going to have to upgrade and buy a more expensive label when I ship this, which is tomorrow because it sold on Friday.
Boo.
So I am going to eat a little bit, probably another $15 or so on the shipping to buy a bigger label because one of the things is a blanket.
Now, what happens when somebody likes all 1,000 of your listings?
They're shit out of luck because I don't create a bundle for them because you do have that pain in the ass buyer that will go in and like 25 items. This guy liked 6 items. I gave him a bundle. He removed 2 of them and sent me an offer.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So I do understand it. I don't understand why people bundle only one either, Krista, but I give them the same offer as whether they had bundled or not.
Yeah, I don't know.
But I do like this aspect on Posh. I am starting to learn. But I mean, even if you look at it, what do these 2 things have in relation? Other than 2 Hawaiian shirts. Okay, I get that. What do the rest have to do with each other? One's a fancy dress and one's a blanket. What the frig? Like, it's not even like, and they're all different. Everything's different sizes. So I don't even know.
Who knows?
I can't put my head into other people's buying strategies, but
maybe it's a mom and she's buying for the whole fam. I don't know.
I don't know.
All right. Very cool. Very cool. All right. Last one for this section of the show. If Barry's still watching. So this is the other t-shirt I sold from that bundle I bought from him. And this is what I love about Etsy. So I price my stuff high, and there's stuff where I know, okay, this Bruce Springsteen shirt, if I look at like, if I look at comps and stuff like that, and I look at the size, like this is a medium, but let's see what the measurements are. Yeah, this is pretty short too, 24 1/4. Like that's pretty short. It's a good medium size across the chest, but the length is pretty short. So based on what else is out there, I'm like, I'm not going to get as much as I priced this for. And I know on eBay, I'm probably going to give massive discounts. Like I probably had this priced on sale at $209.99 on eBay, which means at some point, I'm sure I gave out offers for $100 for this on eBay. But I swear it only happens on Etsy and quite regularly where stuff that I'm not expecting to get as much for, I sell it for full price. And so on Etsy, again, I have a 10% off sale. So if something's on sale for 30% off on my eBay, it'll be at $209.99 and it'll be listed for $199.99 on Etsy, but with no best offer. And then it'll be 10% off. So let's see what this one comes out to. And there you go, $199.99. It was 10% off. So I actually sold it for $179.99. $149. So I sold this t-shirt for $180. So again, I paid an average of $55 per shirt on these. And this is the one that pushed me over the edge and put me in the black.
Pushed you over
Take
the
me
edge.
out of the red. So yeah, so that was definitely like, probably the biggest, I think, single bundle I've definitely spent like $1,500 at yesterday's fits, but $2,000 for a single bundle of t-shirts. It's probably the most I've ever paid on just a bundle off of somebody.
Yeah, but who else comes to your house? And
I know, he brings it right to my house.
Delivers, lets you pick and choose in your own living room, in your pajamas.
No, it's awesome. But that's the thing, and that's the nice thing about having, when you do have a little bit of extra capital, like I knew that these were going to be slower movers. So I bought these at the beginning of, I think, November, just before November 1st, because that's the last time I went to Torgum as well. So I think it was the very end of October, like October 30th or something like that. So I paid $2,000 October 30th. Now we are over 2 months later. I'm just now breaking even. So I'm not going to really be making money off of this for a few more months. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's an investment. That's an investment. That's not a quick flip at all.
That's what vintage clothing is.
Yes.
Vintage clothing in general is an investment. It's almost all long tail. I talk about that a lot. You're going to sell some stuff pretty quickly. You're going to get those heater items, whether it's something that's super hot in the vintage streetwear community or it's super hot in the vintage community in general. You're going to sell some items fairly quickly, but for the most part, vintage items are going to sit to find the right buyer. You've got to find the buyer that wants that exact style, that exact sizing, which is always whacked.
It's whack, yo.
And that's what vintage is. So the fact that some people that talk about they only have an X number of items in their inventory, I get that, but that's not feasible when you sell only vintage. You can't have 200 items in your inventory and only sell vintage.
Yeah.
Not if you want consistent daily sales.
Cheryl, 2 months is slow for break even point is what I'm saying. I mean,
I don't think so.
For
some people.
For break even when you are putting down a lot of cash is what I'm saying. So being able, basically saying, I'm going to tie up this $2,000 and I'm going to be in the hole for 2 months. Like most sellers, most newer sellers, smaller sellers are not going to be in a position where they can do that.
They're not going to have the capital to do that. Yeah.
And so, it's like people going out and buying, the people who really hustled and figured out how to get their hands on PS5s, they had to shell out thousands of dollars, but they knew the second they put them up, they had them to sell, they knew they were going to double, triple their money immediately. That's not the case when it comes to this kind of stuff. I had to wait for it. Yeah. And I'm only now going to be making money.
Can't, like I said, you can't have 200 items and expect to have daily consistent sales if you're selling only vintage clothing. It's just not the way it works. Right. If you do the hustle the way Barry does it, and he's buying, he even still has an inventory that he's taking quite a few weeks or quite a few months to turn over, but he's buying in such large quantity now that he's constantly turning over and constantly making money. But that wasn't the case when he first started doing this a couple of years ago. It's the same for everybody.
And he has a different model that, he can sell the heater items for top dollar right away. And then other stuff he might sell in bundles to go more quickly because he's not about listing stuff online. Now, as far as listing things online, when I very first started with eBay, it was when I hit about 1,000 listings on eBay with used clothing. And I was just starting to really get into the vintage part of it. But I hit 1,000 listings. That's when I was making a full-time living. And then ever since then, I've been fine. But it definitely, but then you always have some people come in and be like, I only ever have 85 listings. And well, that's because you have a very specific thing that you're selling and maybe it's replenishable. So it just depends on what you're selling. So
Beth, reseller Robo asked, are y'all running out of storage in your garage yet?
There's no you all. There's this one.
Yes.
There's this one.
The answer is yes. So I have very little space left. I have a lot of these dolls. I know you don't watch the show every week. So I have about 400 dolls that I need to process and get listed and get them put away. I have the room for them in the garage because I have plenty of storage space for hard goods still right now. As far as clothing goes, clothing storage space is at a premium and I really don't have a lot left. The overflow, when everything is listed, the overflow is pretty much 2 full hanging racks of clothing. A couple hundred pieces that I just don't have a home for. So it's not a huge amount. That's all, when I don't have the dolls in the middle of my living room, which will hopefully be within the next month, I'll have everything done and put away. having two clothing racks in the house that are not put away is not the worst thing. They're rolling racks. I can move them, whatever. That's pretty much the worst of the overflow is 2 full hanging racks.
Kara wants to know about your she shed.
So I haven't talked. Yeah, I'm working on putting a she shed in the back. That's probably what I'm going to do in the next month or so is buy a big shed and have a friend of mine, put it together and install it in the backyard. Yeah.
It really comes down to the HOA because I looked at the city ordinance and it's like anything under 200 square feet, you don't need any like building permit or anything like that. So it's really
not going to have a fixed permanent foundation. Yeah. So yeah, it's just a matter of whether the HOA will allow it. Some do, some don't. I have to look into our HOA rules.
If they don't allow it, then it probably you'd have to do it right behind the house where you can't see it from anywhere. Mm-hmm. But our walls are at 5 feet facing the street. So if we put it on the side of the house where we want to, you'll definitely be able to see it. So
it will not be a she shed with AC. No, it's just going to be a storage shed.
It's only with storage.
It'll be waterproof, weatherproof, but it's not going to have AC or electricity.
But as far as my inventory goes with the space that I already have, because of what I sell and because I'm focused on t-shirts and sweatshirts now, I still have enough room that I could expand. I'd say if I wanted to, which I don't even think is possible, by like 50% and still have enough space. So it's really all comes down to this one and all of her shit. So
it's true. Lori said, have you considered doing a really big discount sale on anything over a year on or something? Sometimes. I mean, I do 25 to 30% off my list prices at any given time anyway. I really don't have much that is over most of my inventory. I would say 99% of my inventory is under 18 months old. I do turn over very close to 100% of my inventory every year. I do have some stuff that's 2 years old, but it's very little. It's a very small percentage. So honestly, I don't mind.
Because of how both of us work with our selling models. Now her stuff takes up more space for sure because she has hard goods. But because of how we operate, there needs to be a certain size inventory. So it's not so much that she's looking for solutions to get rid of stuff. It's more like she's looking for solutions to have more space because she would like to have more inventory. Yeah. She did like a whole culling of stuff like about a year ago where she pulled out.
I got rid of about 300 pieces a year ago, and I didn't even put them on sale. I just ended them and gave them away. I gave them to another lister. I'm at the point where I don't list anything that I'm going to make less than $30 on, period. Mm-hmm. I try not to list anything for less than $50. And my average sale price is $60. So, can I put stuff on sale to get rid of more? Probably, but that's not really the goal. It'll sell.
The problem is I don't, so a reseller Robo asking about me giving you more room because my stuff takes up so little room relatively.
She doesn't have much more to give.
There's not much. I might be able to give up a tiny bit more hanging space if I sell some more jackets over the next few months, but I don't have enough to give to make it substantial for her. Mm-hmm. I do have room. There's definitely I should sometime in the next year, maybe this should be a goal of mine, is to get rid of some of my old t-shirts that I really will never sell. It's just taking up space. But because I'm not hurting for space with my stuff, I haven't felt the need to do that quite yet. But yeah, there's nothing I could really do to give her more room. Me moving my stuff up into one of the spare rooms, it was giving that
gave me a lot. That staved off having to get some exterior space. We have been talking about it. I actually looked into renting some warehouse space and looking into that. Warehouse space here or office space here in general is at a very expensive premium. It would make more sense for me to get a second storage unit at the same facility before it would make sense for me to do any of the other stuff. I mean, I can do it $150 for a storage unit. We have one unit right now, but it does not make sense for me to pay $1,500 for 8x10 office space monthly. It just doesn't. Yep. That doesn't make enough sense for me.
This is just the never-ending challenge of running your own business and figuring out the best solutions.
I mean, I can buy a good shed and have it installed and put together for $1,500, as opposed to that would be 1 month of somewhere. But of course, a storage shed is only going to be for hard goods. I'm not putting clothing out in the storage shed, and that's really where I have the need for space, is for hanging stuff. So,
you could have stuff hanging out there.
No, there's no way to keep it completely weatherproof.
Yeah.
It'd be too much dust, and now I couldn't do it.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, so that's it for our sales highlights and answering questions and yippity yapping. I don't have anything to show you guys because my last sourcing was, 2 weeks in a row. I went to Yesterday's Fits and I had a bunch of stuff, but I've shown you that for 2 weeks now. And I went back and looked and I'm like, there just really isn't anything worth sharing. But Vikki had the 1,000 pieces that she purchased from that estate buyout. And so she still has more disgusting.
I have more dolls. I have
share.
More dolls, but I do also have a couple of clothing items.
And she also was able to pull out a few cool clothing items to show us as well. So basically what you guys get is Vikki's haul while I make faces.
Always. Great. Thank you. I'm going to...
Ow! You guys, I was just attacked.
That's what you get.
Victim blaming.
So back to me loving this whole buffalo plaid. Everything buffalo plaid just sells. It just does. So we've got a buffalo plaid. It's like a shirt jacket. It's a wool shirt jacket. It's vintage. It is not a known brand.
Doesn't matter.
But it is vintage. And I would put it somewhere in the 50s or 60s based on the type of label on here. But it's got the Mackinac back.
Mm-hmm.
Not lined, not quilted, but no defects. I paid, this was something that Sally had picked up for me. So I think I probably paid around $10 on average for this item. And I have it listed for like $125.
It matches my hat, guys. So Kara wants me to show. I also have an awesome mask that our friend made that Vikki bought for me, commissioned for me. My t-shirt, it's Suspiria. It's got Dario Argento's scary face on it. This was actually a present from Dana.
Can I have that back? I didn't give it to you to throw over there.
Well, I was laying it gently to get it out of the way. And then because I'm going to be the one to carry it downstairs. So beautiful.
Linda, I could do a video on vintage dolls. Honestly, if Katy and I knew how to edit, I could take some of this information and put it into a vintage doll video, but it's too much work.
I know how to edit. I'm not doing it. And this one over here is never going to do it or learn how to do it ever.
Yeah. So this is another item sourced from Sally. Sally gets some really, really great stuff. She hates clothing. She gets some really good stuff at estate sales where she lives that I can never find around here. So this is a vintage really cool. 70s. Las Vegas has an event called Eldorado Days.
I love it.
And this is a vintage Las Vegas satin.
It's embroidered
bomber jacket. It's embroidered. It's really cool. And
oh, and JR, come on, that's good. I love it.
One, right?
You always want to have like a good like Bob or Joe or Mike,
Jimmy Jack.
JR though, that's a good one, or Jim.
That's a good one, right? So I think I have this listed for 150. I just got it listed this week, but it's also a really good size. It's like a 2XL, which you don't really find very often. So this is like 70s, maybe even early 80s, like 80 to 83 type jacket. It's very specific. Cool. Let's see. I do love me some vintage clothing that is just vintage in style. So this is a brand that is a Bolo brand, Rock Steady.
Is that an olive oil dress?
No, it's a nautical. It's not a vintage dress. It is a current dress, but it's vintage pinup clothing, and this is a brand that I like as well. I actually had a dress like this in my size, and this is a Rock Steady. And it's just like a pinup nautical dress, very popular style. And this will probably sell for like $60 or so.
Isn't that what olive oil's dress looks like?
I don't freaking know.
We're having a conversation here, man. Let me contribute.
Linda's like, thank you for your honesty. It's true. It's true. I don't know if I will do. People keep asking me to do another vintage video as far as the clothing, and I swear I will get to it at some point. I just, every time I think I'm going to do it, I'm like, oh crap, I don't want to do my hair today or whatever. That's the dead honest truth. It's taking an hour-long break to do it in the middle of the day where the lighting is good in the living room to do it. So
my hat is Wesk. I don't know. We are the superlative conspiracy. I don't know. I think I got it at I got a couple of them, but not all the plaid ones, but I got it at like Marshall's or something like that.
Let's see. Allison says, is there a community room in our subdivision? No. Nope, we don't have anything like that.
Yeah.
It's just all single family homes, but it's just HOA rules as far as putting the shed in the backyard. Some allow you to do it if it can't be seen from the street. And the area that I want to put it in, it would be just taller than the wall, so you would see it from the street. So that's where I have to see if I can.
It might be something where it's like they have rules around what color it can be. If you can be, who knows? You never know.
HOAs are weird.
Yeah.
So back to talking about rockabilly and stuff. This is not quite rockabilly, but it is in that same genre. This is that. Don't ever pass these grandpa sweaters by. This is a vintage 70s, early 80s grandpa sweater from Sears. Collar. The big shawl collar, Sears sportswear tag there. It's like very early 80s, late 70s. The big shawl collar with the big buttons and the pockets in the front, oversized. I sell these all the time. Eddie Bauer makes good ones. I sell these for like $75 to $100 all the time. Grandpa sweaters are popular.
Yeah. Everybody wants to be their pops.
Yeah, so that's all I have for some clothing to show you this week. And now we're going to move on to the dolls. So if you would like to conclude your watching or your viewing for the day.
No, they're here from the faces.
I understand.
You want me to push this over there?
Yeah, I need this over here. So I tried to do some that were more interesting than others. So today I'm going to start with, so this is a vintage creepy
what
doll.
The F is that?
It's a wind up tin toy doll made in Japan. And it has a celluloid body. And celluloid is a very, very thin, clear type of plastic. So this, Tommy's like, I'm out. So this type of doll would be, this will probably sell. It's not going to sell for a ton, but it will probably sell for like $25 to $30. It's just this little tiny, it happened to be in with all the other dolls.
You got to put like haunted in your keywords.
And it crawls. That's some creepy shit. It crawls. So I'm trying to get it to.
Bionic baby.
You're blocking it with the words. Yeah, it's creepy.
Yeah, that's some weird shit.
Okay, so this is another one that's not quite. It's the brand that I wanted to talk about more than the doll itself. So this is just a typical baby doll. It's a rubber baby doll. It's what they call a drinking wet doll, which means it has a hole in its mouth. And then it also has a hole.
Me too.
It also has a hole on the bottom.
Me too.
So that a little baby or a little girl that would play with this would take this in the bathtub sometimes, or they give them water and then they would change the diaper just like a real baby. But this happens to be made by a brand. It's a rubber doll, and it's made by the Sun Rubber Company. And there are a lot of dolls made by that company. And they sell for, this one will probably sell for like the $30 to $40 range. This one's not a super expensive doll. It's very typical baby doll, but a lot of people pass these by and they're usually super cheap. And like I said, $30 to $40. I paid about $1/4 a piece for everything in this lot. I'm going to find some clothes for him. I'm going to give this doll a little bit of a rub down, a
little bit of dignity,
some clothes, and
some self-respect.
Probably wash it a little bit because it's a little grungy, but I should get about $40 for it. What is the age of this one? So this one is probably 1950s, late 50s. Let me see. It might even say on the back here. I need a.
Here, let me hold it for you.
I need a.
Tell me. It says
in the back of the neck. I think it has the date on that one.
No. It says no. There's no date.
Okay. 50s.
Sorry.
50s. And yes, this is a chubby baby doll that has boobs. Yep.
Cute.
It's got a big belly.
This one's not so scary because it's got
baby rolls.
It doesn't have hair that's going to fly off into my mouth.
It doesn't have a real wig on it.
Mm-mm.
So this is the type of doll that's probably most associated with the 50s. This is a bride doll. I can't remember if I showed this one last week or not. I don't think I did. So this is a bride doll, but she's what would have been called like the grocery store dolls. The most popular ones were Revlon dolls, and I'm going to get to one of those in a minute. Revlon was made by a company called Ideal. And this particular doll could have been made by any number of companies. She doesn't have any markings. So some dolls were marked, some dolls were not. That's where it comes into, you have to do a lot of research when you're looking at dolls from this era. But she's a 1950s doll. And she's got she's perfectly dressed, and she has even down to the high-heeled shoes. So they would have called them like I'm trying to turn this so you can see it. Hold on. She's down to the shoes, lots of layers. They would have called these a grocery store high heel fashion dolls. This is what would be at near the checkout line when you were trying to leave, and every little girl would beg mom to buy one. So this particular doll will, she'll probably sell, because she's unmarked and she has short hair. She will probably, but she has a nice outfit. I'll probably get about $50 for.
Hey, we're on Bonnie's 65-inch TV.
Woohoo! Woohoo! I'm sorry about that.
Whatever. Bonnie's our friend.
Okay, so this is another doll. This one is a better example of that type of high heel doll. So this one's really pretty. This one is also unmarked, but looks very much like a Madame Alexander doll with what's called a sissy face. That's the style of the doll's face on this one. She's unmarked. She could be Madame Alexander, but she also could be Revlon. She's probably not one of the other companies. So she has earrings. She has a ring on her finger. She's got this big hoop skirt. She's actually in really nice shape. Her hair is actually in really nice shape. She's got a great outfit on. And then this is considered, she's a high heel doll, but she also has pointed feet, like she would either walk in a high heels or can wear flat shoes. So
fancy.
She's actually a really pretty one. This one I expect to get around $100 for. And again, like I said, it's really hard for dolls from this era because so many of them are unmarked. You have to spend hours and hours pouring through identification to find one that has a similar face if it's unmarked. This is where I wanted to do just a little bit of education about specific dolls.
Bring it.
So if I were to hold these dolls up here, they all kind of look very similar, right? So they have similar faces and they're all the same size. And you would think that they're all made by the same company, but they're not. They're made by 4 different companies. So like for this one, this is the one they're all trying to be like. This is an Ideal doll, Ideal Tammy doll. And she's marked. And Ideal Tammy dolls in good condition, in a better outfit, and I will find her a better outfit because what she's wearing is ridiculous and doesn't even match. They sell for $50 to $75. This one would sell for that by itself,
What
even in
decade
this
is it from?
outfit. This is from the 1950s as well. And then there's this doll, which is what's called a Tammy lookalike doll. It was just like Barbie. Barbie was made by Mattel. Tammy was made by Ideal. And they were companies that would come out with a replica doll and try to capitalize on that look that every little girl wanted. So the Barbie doll might be $2, but the replica doll would be like 50 cents. So if your family couldn't afford to buy you the Barbie doll, they'd buy you the lookalike, right? It's like you get the fake G.I. Joes if you were a little boy or, you know. So this one is an unbranded Tammy clone. Now, the thing about these dolls, when they're vintage, the unbranded ones command almost as much money as the originals. So this particular doll will sell for about $25 or $30. She has 0 markings on her anywhere, but she is a Tammy clone doll. This is another Tammy clone doll. This is made by a company called Allied, but they actually named her Lorna. That was her name.
Lorna.
So she's made to look like a Tammy doll, and she sells for $35 to $40 just by herself, even though the Tammy dolls sell for like $50. It's really, they're worth selling by themselves. And then this is another one. This is another Tammy clone doll made by a company called Unique. And she sells for just as much as the Tammy dolls. Crazy. So this one will sell for $50 to $60 by itself. And again, they all have crazy hair. But they're very popular and they sell very well, even if the dolls all look the same. Just the little nuances are going to make the difference as to whether what they're going to sell for. And that was why I wanted to show you. We've got 4 dolls that look very similar. Looking at them first glance, you wouldn't necessarily know that they're different. And yes, I would list it as Tammy clone.
Interesting.
Anybody have any questions in the chat, or am I just like...
They're responding. Laura wants to know, you already asked that. Subin Seconds wants you to do an online auction, YouTube auction.
Ugh, I don't do online YouTube auctions. We don't have enough watchers to do that.
Yeah.
No,
anyway, it was something like this. With something like this, there are so many serious collectors that absolutely use eBay and probably have like search alerts that come up. So it's like you would be missing out on the most important buyers by doing an online, like a YouTube auction. So
yeah,
it just wouldn't make any sense.
Need some serious cardboard stash to mail all the dolls. Nah, I have plenty of boxes. That's the good thing about having an anchor store with eBay is my $150 a month, coupon, because I have plenty of boxes in every size. So this is a doll that's one of the more popular dolls as far as collectors go. She has as much of a following as Barbie collectors do. Her name is Ginny, Ginny. She's a Ginny doll made by Vogue. This is 1950s as well. There are so many different variations of Ginny dolls, but this particular Ginny doll is a 10-inch doll, not an 8-inch doll. And she's what they call a walker doll. So you walk her and her head turns. So she's a head-turning walker doll.
No, sir, I don't like it.
And she's in an original clothing, original outfit. So this one will probably sell for about $75. She's what they call a straight leg head-turning walker. And by straight leg, it means that she doesn't have a hinge on her knee. So she walks with the legs are straight. Some of them have hinges on the knees, and they're called a bent knee walker. So this one will sell for about $75, just like this. And these are just, this is just a handful of the hundreds of dolls, and I've just started to go through them so I can show them to you guys.
Yeah, we both upgraded to anchor stores last year because we realized that even though it cost a little bit more, it was kind of like after they changed from when they changed the way the listings happened or whatever. I don't remember. Anyway, we basically both decided that it made sense to spend a little bit more, but get that $150 coupon every quarter.
And it was an extra promoted listings.
And it was easier to like end items whenever we wanted to and not worry about running out of listings.
Yeah, because I was right at the cusp.
Yeah.
You're right. Around 3,200 to 3,400 listings a month is right where we're at the cusp of break even for an anchor store, which is right where I am.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see. This is another doll. This is a doll made.
She's got some special hair.
Yeah, she's got some. This is what happens with their hair over time. This is a Mary Hoyer doll, Hoyer. She's marked on her back. Again, it's another Ideal doll. Ideal was probably one of the main companies that make dolls ever. And so she's probably from the 40s. She's a hard plastic doll. Mary Hoyer, even in this moth-eaten handmade outfit that she has, so she's even got like matching knit underwear. Somebody took a lot of time to make this outfit, but even the way that she looks, no shoes, hair all jacked up, she's going to sell for about $75.
That's crazy.
So I'm not going to do anything to this doll other than sell her like this. I have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of doll clothes to go through. So what I need to do is I've been sorting these doll clothes, and I'm going to sell them in lots with the dolls that they fit, even if they're not marked, because that will command an extra $20 to $30 per listing. So if I find some more clothing that fits her and is age appropriate that I can throw in with her, I'll probably list it for at least $100.
So what, you went through, it took you like quite a while last night, and you made it through one garbage bag full of clothes. And what, are you even a quarter of the way through yet?
No, I made it through one garbage bag, and I have 10.
So many clothes.
And all I'm doing is I'm separating them by the doll size or approximate doll size based on the clothes. Like you can tell Barbie doll clothes are going to be different from clothes that will fit this fat thing, right? So that's all I'm doing is eyeballing them and start separating them by size. And then I'll do even
Have you found
further.
anything really cool?
In the clothing?
Or surprising at all?
In the clothing, I mean, I have no, not yet. Not yet. I mean, just
all
doll
clothes.
stuff.
I don't know.
And I have just 2 more to show you, and I won't bore you anymore. Sorry.
They're not bored.
So this is another Ideal doll.
She's got awesome dreads.
This one's got
Look at her.
She's got some dreads. This is another Ideal doll. This one is called Saucy Walker.
Ooh.
Again, the Walker thing was a big deal. So they would have, and she's got some handmade nightgown. Not handmade, actually. It's not handmade. She's got a nightgown on and underwear. But you'd see, like, we would never let kids have these dolls now. Look at all the,
all the hardware.
All the hardware and so they have like hinges and legs. She's also, this one's a crier. This one's a crier. No. So this one is about 16 inches tall, 16-inch Saucy Walker doll that has a crier that works. She's worth about $100. I'll find a better outfit and even if the subject matter is offensive. Shut up. Shut up, Laura. So I'll find a better outfit. I will team her up with a couple of other outfits. I try to just like wipe down the doll and the face and stuff like that. I might put a ribbon in her hair, but other than that, I'm not trying to do much because you can't really brush the doll's hair. You can't do anything to it because the glue will come off and the hair will just rip out. So for me, I'm not a doll restorer. Somebody that wants to take the time to brush this doll's hair and to make it look perfect again is going to be the end buyer, not me. So again, 1950s Saucy Walker made by Ideal. That's $100 doll. So I don't know what I've just shown here, but probably like $500 worth of dolls that I've paid about $5 for total. And then this is the last one. This is one with the human hair wig, which is gross. The human hair wigs are really gross. Katy hates those. The human hair wigs are really creepy. I'm not going to lie. They look gross. They feel gross. Somebody liked it at some point because it was able to style better. But this is made by a company called Horseman. This is a Rosebud doll, Horseman's doll. She's 1920s, late 1920s, early 1930s. She's in a replacement dress, which is, again, better than sending her naked. She's in a dress that fits, even though it's not age appropriate. This is a much earlier dress. This dress is probably from the 90s or so. It's not a vintage dress at all, but it fits her. And I'll probably keep it on her. But she is made out of composition, which is that heavy painted composition. It's kind of like a wood composite that has paint over it. And she's in good shape because she doesn't have any cracks or splits other than this jacked up looking hair.
She's just super high right now, Kathy.
Yeah. Her eyes are a little bit stuck. Let me just, there you go. She doesn't look quite as stoned now. But this doll will probably sell for, let's see, about 120 to 150.
Crazy.
Again, people walk by dolls all the time, and that's the thing.
But there's so many of them, and if you don't know
there's
anything,
so many of them. There's so many of them, and it just does take a lot of work. I mean, as far as cleaning them up a little bit, making it look a little bit less horrific, figuring out what you're going to sell them for, doing the research on the dolls. The research alone is the hard part.
Okay.
This took me 2 hours to do the research today on dolls that I understand and I know where to research.
So here's my question. Somebody's watching this right now, and God knows why, for some stupid reason, they're like, I want to start selling dolls and having these creepy things in my house. What is your advice for someone who knows nothing if they wanted to do some doll dabbling? How could they? So, because obviously there seriously are crazy amounts of dolls that are not worth anything.
That's true.
So if you didn't know anything, what would you suggest? Like maybe only buy dolls that have markings on it to start with?
Yes, buy dolls that have markings to start with. Don't buy any doll that was made later than 1980. There were a few, but very few have any value, unless we're talking like, American Girl dolls and stuff like that. Don't buy all those porcelain and bisque dolls, that collector's dolls that people buy on QVC, and they line their shelves with them, and they've got the fancy hair and the fancy dresses. 99.9% of those are absolutely worthless. Mm-hmm. Even if somebody spent a fortune on them, because my mother is one of those people that has about 50 of them, and they were a fortune and they are worthless. They're only worth something if you're a collector and you want them for yourself. They're not worth resale at all.
Are there any websites other than eBay to...
Yeah, so eBay and Etsy are good websites to do some research on as far as to see sales prices, Terapeak, WorthPoint, that type of thing. More often than not, you're going to need WorthPoint for these types of dolls because the more rare and the more valuable they are, the fewer there are that are going to be available. That, supply and demand like anything else. Mm-hmm. So WorthPoint and Terapeak are going to be your best bets for researching pricing. But as far as researching the dolls themselves, there are some very comprehensive research sites that I've been using for many years, websites to do the research itself, to find the names and the patterns and to find out what markings mean for what company, that type of stuff. And there are also several comprehensive doll identification books that are out there. And I do not recommend reference books very often, but doll identification reference books I do, because there are some things that you're not going to find anywhere on the internet that you will need the reference books for. Mm-hmm. So,
I think also, one of the things that is great about eBay is that you can just look at solds, like pick some keywords, right? And like, you could say like, I don't know, 40s baby doll or whatever. and look at solds and organize it highest to lowest and just look, you'll start to see some of the same names over and over again. Some of the same descriptions.
It's the same way that you would learn any other niche. It started for me because they were very plentiful at auctions when I used to go to auctions to purchase inventory when I first started selling on eBay. And when I first started selling on eBay, all of my research was done through identification books, antique identification books. And I had an entire bookshelf full of books for every item and genre you can think of. And one of the things, like people that do identification for glassware and pottery and things like that, I found out real fast that shit was not for me. I hate it. I absolutely hate it. I hate trying to figure out what type of glass company made something. If it's not marked, I don't even want to look at it. Mm-hmm. And there are some people that excel in that. Danny, for one, our friend Danny loves glassware. And Mary was in the chat earlier. Mary is very, very well versed on like Murano glass and things like that. For me, that I couldn't think of it. That's like a fate worse than death for me trying to research that stuff. Yeah. I won't ever even pick it up. I won't even look at it.
WorthPoint it's less than $20 a month for their basic subscription. And so I think it's worth it if you're using it regularly.
Yeah.
And depending on what kind of stuff you sell, if you use it regularly, then it's a worthwhile tool. If you are, I would say it's just one of those things that everybody needs to decide what costs are appropriate. And, if you have a business that's thriving and you're selling regularly and you're listing regularly and you're not just dicking around, then it's worth it to pay for some tools that you're going to use on the regular.
So Brian mentioned two excellent companies that make dolls. I am already well aware of them. Jumo Dolls and Brew are two companies that make very, very expensive high-end dolls. I don't have any of those dolls in this buyout, but I do have some dolls that'll go for $200 or more in this buyout. But for the most part, most of what I'm looking at is the mid-level $50 to $125 for all these dolls. I don't have any massive home runs. I do know that. Yeah. There are Facebook groups that are dedicated to old dolls. When I first started, it used to be eBay discussion boards. That was where I would learn. I would do my 3 hours of research on each doll until I could figure out what I could figure out through all of my books and all of the websites that were available, which were not many at that time. The interwebs was still new. And then I would go into the Facebook doll groups and I would post pictures and ask questions and ask for help with identification. And there are people that know dolls very, very well, much, much better than I do.
No matter for pretty much anything that you want to learn about, there are Facebook groups. I've been in a few Facebook groups for vintage streetwear, and that not necessarily for selling or just for selling. It's true that it's a really good way. You see what other people post and you see how people respond. If it's something that's just nobody cares about, then there'll be maybe one comment. And if it's something that's blowing people's minds or they're really excited about and they're talking about, it's just a really good way to take the temperature of like what's popular, what's not, what people love, what's desirable, all that kind of stuff.
And a lot of these doll collectors are getting up there in age. Let's face it, the doll collectors that are collecting dolls from the 50s and the 40s and the 30s are people that lived in that era. And they're people generally, there's exceptions to every rule, but they're generally people that had dolls when they were younger or want something to remind them of their childhood. So these dolls are all about nostalgia. So they're purchasing things that they had when they were little girls. So these women, it's mostly women. I'm sure there are men too. But these women are in their 70s, 80s, 90s that are collectors. So a lot of them are not going to be on websites like Etsy and things like that. They're going to be on eBay if they're online at all. So this is where you're going to find this stuff. So my investment into these dolls, this was part of this estate buyout that I did 3 weeks ago now, where I purchased a lot of clothing, a lot of dolls, and a lot of vintage Fisher Price stuff. So my entire investment on the clothing and the dolls and toys themselves was $210 for probably 1,000 pieces altogether. Now, of that 1,000, more than that if I'm counting the doll clothing individually, several thousand pieces, which I'm not because I would never sell them individually. But it's $210. Plus, I paid a $300 finder's fee to my friend Sally for helping me find and negotiate this buyout. And then I paid my other friend Corey $200 to help me for the day to drive to St. George and to load up the truck and to follow back. So I have $210 and $710 invested altogether in all of the items.
Yeah, and I think you've already come close to.
I've already come close to breaking even just on listing,
and barely a fraction of it's even listed.
I've listed 15 items.
All right. Somehow we managed to still almost hit 2 hours, even with me sharing nothing.
Mm-hmm.
But because I wasn't sharing anything, you got to have more time to delve a little deeper into doll nightmares. Anyway, thank you guys so much for coming and hanging out with us. We always love doing the show. And do not forget the contest that I announced at the beginning of the show, or for those of you who weren't here at the beginning of the show, you could win a $25 gift card to eBay. All you have to do, not in the chat, but in the comments below. So after this video is over, if you could comment below this video, on this video, it needs to be a quality comment. I'm going to randomly pick one of the comments, and that person's going to win a gift card next week. But it needs to be a comment that specifically addresses something in the show. So it could be about something that we shared. It could be about our numbers. It could be about something we sold this last week. It could be about something Vikki showed. It could be about how awesome you think my faces are. It just needs to be a comment about, it can't just be
specific about the show.
It can't just be like, first, I put the 10th comment in, I want to win. It's got to be something about our show. And it will be up to my discretion, but I will probably do a random pick on Saturday in the Facebook group, the Boss Facebook group. You do not have to be there, but if you want to, you can make sure you're in the Boss Facebook group. But we will announce it on next week's show. Just make sure you comment on this video after the show is actually over, and you will get to be potentially a winner.
Yep. So Tracy asked the name of the eBay sellers that did 1 million this year is Rally Roots, RALLI. Rally Roots.
Ryan, but that was Roots. They didn't do that on eBay though.
No.
It's a combination of
all different kinds of things.
They do Amazon wholesale. They
teach courses.
They
did 70,000 on
YouTube,
eBay on YouTube alone. Yeah.
So
So I hope I taught you guys a little bit about vintage dolls. I know that it's not for everybody, and that's okay. It just happens to be one of those dying things that a lot of people don't get to know about or learn about.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of money in it as a niche. I used to specifically look for dolls. And in this case, when I first got the notification from Sally that this place had a bazillion dolls, I said, I want them all, because I knew that I could make good money on them. It's going to be a lot of work. It still has been a lot of work. I'm getting frustrated because I hate having a death pile, and I hate having clutter in my house. So it's driving me crazy.
You that she should.
But I'm getting there. So,
yep. All right, guys, thanks for joining us. We really appreciate you. We love getting to hang out with you. This is like our little break from it all and getting to socialize, particularly in a time when we're not going out even less than ever. So we appreciate you, and we will see you around the interwebs over the next week, and then we'll see you again next week here.
Megan had another question. I apologize.
Sorry, we're wrapping up the show, and you end the wrap up 500 times.
Megan, our Facebook group, the link is down below, the Boss Facebook group. It's our Facebook group that we run with Teresa and Laura and Barbara and Liz.
It's linked down below. Okay, I'm done yelling. I'm sorry I yelled, but don't ever do that again. Don't you ever. Let me wrap up for the fourth time. For the fourth time. I don't know why you thought it was that funny this time. Who knew? Who knew a callback to 23 episodes ago would make her snort? For the fourth time, guys, we love you. And don't ever interrupt me again.